Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to continue with our missing character series, but we're going to take a little break from the Beastmen and look towards the Dark Elves, the current only Game 2 base race with only 5 legendary lords, where all others have 6. Many people, including myself, believe that the next DLC for Total War Warhammer 2 will feature the Dark Elves, as Creative Assembly have stated that they would like to have every single base game race with at least 6 playable legendary lords. And many people, including myself once again, are hoping that the next legendary lord for the Dark Elves is the BEASTLORD Rakarth of Rakarth. So let's discuss his lore, his rules on the tabletop, and how he could be translated into Total War Warhammer. To better introduce this character to those not aware of him, we will read over his entry into the Warhammer Fantasy Battles 4th edition army book for the Dark Elves. BEASTLORD Rakarth. The Dark Elves have always made great use of enslaved monsters, both for their fleets and for their land armies. But although there have been many famous beastmasters in the past, none have approached Rakarth's consummate skill or expertise. It is said that the dungeons of Rakarth are filled with creatures that Rakarth has tamed, and that amongst them can be found one or more of all the creatures known in the Warhammer world. Even as a child, Rakarth had an almost supernatural ability to subdue wild creatures. When Rakarth was only 8 years old, his father had gifted him with a particularly fine dark steed. The beast was called Brakkus, and was faster and stronger than any in the Rakarth stables. But it had a vicious temperament, and would buck and rear uncontrollably if anybody tried to ride it. Rakarth's father attempted to break Brakkus, and was quickly hurled to the ground and almost trampled to death under the creature's hooves. Wild with fury, Rakarth's father ordered Brakkus destroyed, but Rakarth strode forward and asked if he might have one attempt to ride the creature, and that if he succeeded he might keep Brakkus for himself. Rakarth's father readily agreed, for Dark Elves love all forms of gambling, even above the safety of their own children. Rakarth walked slowly towards Brakkus, fixing the steed with his steady gaze. Brakkus was visually shaken at the young child's icy cold stare, recognizing instinctively that here was a being that outmatched it in its sheer cruelty and ability to inflict pain. Lowering his head, Brakkus allowed Rakarth to jump easily onto his back, and meekly obeyed Rakarth's every command. From that day on, Brakkus was Rakarth's faithful mount, serving him well until he was slain in battle some 30 years later. The black dragon that Rakarth rides into battle is now named Brakkus in honor of the steed that he rode as a youth. That's the basic introduction to this character, and in truth his lore has changed as the editions went on, where the horse itself didn't exist, but rather the origin of the horse was then given to the black dragon. However, I don't believe that the character should be introduced with just the black dragon, mainly because we currently have Lokia Fellheart and Malekith the Witch King with black dragon mounts, and yeah, we don't really need a third black dragon. The options should still be there, but perhaps in a more thematic sense. Say for example, playing as Rakarth, you would have access to Brakkus the horse, and should you want the black dragon, you would have to unlock it in a quest, where you would play out the battle where Brakkus was killed, after which then you would be permanently locked out from being able to use your horse mount, and instead have your new Brakkus in the form of a black dragon. This is more thematic, but since the Sisters of Twilight now have a thematic questline to unlock one of their mounts, I think this could be rather interesting. Something like this would give players a permanent element of choice, which I think would be rather cool for Total War Warhammer. With regards to any special items, Rakarth only has one unique item, that of the Whip of Agony. This would force enemies to take a leadership test in order to be able to attack Rakarth. If they should fail it, they would become docile and would not be able to attack. Of course, this special item could be translated in a way that as long as Rakarth is attacking an enemy, their leadership might be reduced. Perhaps a special mechanic could be involved, where enemy monsters could then be made to join Rakarth's faction temporarily within a battle. This would obviously be in the form of an ability that could only be used maybe once or twice per battle. Other than that, the character had two generic items, that of the Enchanted Shield and the Armor of Fortune. What these items did was essentially increase their armor save. I'm assuming that Creative Assembly would want to introduce more than one unique item, so some creative interpretation could be allowed here. His only special rule is that of BEASTLORD, and interestingly enough, we've already covered how this could potentially be introduced through the Whip of Agony, as on the tabletop, he was able to turn other monsters into his control, which you know could be rather interesting to see being implemented. Now, of course, he would need some other special rules or faction effects and so on to be able to justify the creation of this character. A good way to go around it would be to allow Rakarth's faction to be able to recruit various monsters from different other races and factions. So say for example giant spiders, wolves and so on. These would only be able to be recruited from a specific building, call it the Rakarth Stables or something like that. This would be the perfect time to introduce feral cold ones, and maybe even bigger monsters like say the Merworm. That's a much requested monster which could easily be added in for the High Elves, but also to Rakarth's faction as a monster tamer. Now in regards to implementation, Creative Assembly can go about a different amount of ways. I myself speculate that the next DLC will be Beastmen vs Dark Elves. And how this could work is that Rakarth could be trying to tame the Beastmen. This would be the ultimate challenge towards any sort of Beastlord of the Dark Elves. They're able to tame various monsters across the known world, but what about a Beastman, a creature of chaos which is still an animal? Well, it is a humanoid, but you get the gist. These animalistic beastmen would be the perfect way to test Rakarth's ability. What better way than to break something so incredibly savage? That, or it could be focused around the taming of beastmen monsters, in a very similar way to the Norscan monster hunts. However, this would be a series of quests where he would try to break as many savage beasts as possible. Norscan frostworms, greenskin Arachnarok spiders, maybe even a beastman Jabberslife. The possibilities are endless here, but I think that would be more befitting than say for example Norska's monster hunts. While the Norscan monster hunts were implemented in a fun way, it felt more like a Dark Elf mechanic than it did for the Norskans. Sure, the Norskans do go out on hunts and so on, but I thought their campaign was going to be more focused around, you know, the Chaos Gods. Obviously, his start position, in the Mortal Empires at least, would be focused around Karen's car, or he could be given a choice and start anywhere else, having an option to also take Karen's car by turn 2. Yes, this mechanic is taking from Malus Darkblade, but then again it does fit and it could be used again and again for different legendary lords. Whereas in the Eye of the Vortex, once again it could be done in the exact same way. I think this character has a lot of promise, but he'll need to be made a bit more unique if Creative Assembly don't want him to be too similar to Lokir and Malekith. A monster-focused approach with the Dark Elves would be rather interesting, as right now every other faction more or less plays the same way. But what do you guys think about this character, and how do you think that Rakarth could be introduced into Total War Warhammer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.